Good evening. Welcome everyone. This is a 30-minute Bowspring practice, so it's a quick one. And the emphasis of today's practice will be on the idea of being in a state of readiness. And one of the alignment instructions, just a general position to be in a lot of standing poses, is to have your back heel lifted. It doesn't have to be super high like wearing high heels, but just off the ground. And that state is a state where we're ready. If you think of a tennis player, they're not going to be putting their weight back into their heels just waiting for the ball to come. They're usually standing on guard in a state of readiness, and that's really the essence of the yoga practice, where you still have the benefits of a lot of the forms of yoga, but just done in a more dynamic state. So because the theme is readiness and it's a 30-minute practice, we're going to just jump right into it. So first pose is crouching cat position. So place your hands down about as wide as your shoulders, tuck your toes under, lift your knees, and rise up. And then in crouching cat, come forward so your chin is in line with your wrists. So you're more on the way to plank pose, but have a moment of indecisiveness. And in some yoga modalities, this position is called plog. Plank dog plog, not to be confused with my favorite game as a kid, which was Pogs, where I'd use my slammer to flip over Pogs and beat my friends. Actively push down with your hands, lift your rib cage up, and with your knees bent, have your heels lift. And crouching cat is a position where the heels are lifted into the air just to get a nice little stretch to begin with. Drop your heels over to the right, so your feet turn to the left. Tilt your right ear to your shoulder, rise onto your left fingertips, what is called side cat or twisted cat. Actively pulse your legs, bending your knees, and then pushing them straighter. And you can coordinate that with your breath, or you could just move quick. You also are welcome to not breathe at all in class, but not recommended. Lower your hand down, lift your heels, and drop your heels over to the left. Rise onto your right fingertips, tilt your left ear to your left shoulder, and pulse your legs. Big news today, I'm wearing pants. That's a first. Keeping things cool around here, trying to lessen the heat. It's going to be a cold week ahead to all my friends in BC. It's only going to get colder, but clear. Right hand flat, bending your knees, spring your legs, that state of readiness. You're always ready to move. And then step or playfully hop forward. Land with your feet about hip distance apart. And then inhale, rise up, place your hands to your knees in recovery position. Here in recovery position, bend your knees forward. Move the tops of your thighs back, and then hover your heels just a little bit off the floor. And what's fun about that position is it makes you wobble a little bit and lose your balance. And when we're out of balance slightly, that's when we can actually find more strength and more awareness in the position itself. So now lower your right heel, and then lift your left leg, and place your foot to the upper inner thigh. Or you could go inner shin or inner ankle if you want to modify. Move your left knee a little bit forward so you can use your left foot to actually turn your right inner thigh back. So you rotate your leg inward, and it allows you to move your hips back. From there, stand tall, and then touch the tips of your fingers together for globe hands. A position that allows you to be quite sensitive, which means that you feel more. Actively push the fingers into each other. Press your elbows out to the side, tone your arms, bend your standing leg a little, and this is where it gets really tough. Can you lift your right heel to hover? Whoa, whoa, whoa. And then go heel down, and then lower your left foot, and just go right to the other side. So weight your left foot, lift your right foot. It helps to actually literally grab your ankle and put your foot to your upper inner thigh. And then from there, tips of your fingers together, move your hands forward, look forward. Again, option to bend your standing knee a little bit. Try to rotate your thigh inward to move your hips back. ground down through the inner and outer edge of your foot, and then maybe even lean forward to lift your heel. Okay, and then lower your foot down. Again, bend your knees, then lean forward till you lift your heels, and then notice that's a position where you might be happy to jump. And then the opposite, move your weight back to your heels, lift the fronts of your feet, and notice if this is something that you'd like to do in your life more often, which is put the heels on things, the brakes on things. There's a time and place to do that, of course, but in terms of movement, we want to try to have the heels lifted more often. So lean to your right foot, lift your left heel just a little bit, push your foot forward to move your hips back, and then pull your foot back to feel the tone through the back of your leg. Keep that tone, and then lift your leg behind you. Go to globe hands and pause here in propeller pose. Propeller is just a warrior 3 variation where your knees are bent. And we often call it airplane pose when the arms are alongside and the body straight. It's propeller, so it's the front of the airplane. And from the side view, of course, with both knees bent, it then looks like a propeller. Unless you're on one of those big jets that doesn't have propellers. Option to pulse your right leg. Option to lift your heel just a little bit away from the floor. And then step your left foot back, short lunge position. In the short lunge position, bend your knees, move your hips back, place your hands to the outside of your knees and push your knees out until you feel your legs get stronger. From there, reach your arms forward. This time, curl your fingers into seat hand. Join your 2 hands together. Imagine holding down on a shelf so that you can lift your rib cage up as you move your hips back. Big breath in, and as you exhale, twist over to the right. Option to lift your front heel as well. The back heel is, of course, likely lifted with this short stance. And then final stage, you can close your eyes. Then turn to center, push off of your back foot, and then step it forward and wrap it up and over your right leg. For eagle variation of the legs, you could wrap the foot all the way around, or you can make a kickstand with the left heel lifted. Push, if that's the case, the left foot forward to move your hips further back. Press the outer knees into each other to feel your glutes get stronger. And then cup the back of your head. Push your head into your hands, but resist by pulling your hands into your head. And then lift your rib cage up. Start to lean back. Take it to your edge where you lift the rib cage so high that you feel your belly start to stretch as you drop your hips lower. Okay, and then unwrap your leg. Hold your head. Float your arms up. Just sway a little bit side to side. I like making up new words, unhold. And then weight your left foot. You can even step the right foot in a little bit. Have your heel lifted, push your foot forward. So by pushing the foot forward, you can move your hips further back. And then pull the foot back energetically without lifting it, and literally like feel your calf muscles and be like, whoa, I'm so strong, that hike yesterday. And then hamstring muscles, it's like, wow, I'm powerful. And then pull your foot back to lift the leg into the air. Bend your knees and tilt forward. So you could think of doing a hamstring curl with your back leg. But at the same time, you could also even push the back knee forward and tone the front of the leg as well. Essentially just trying to create an even tone. Then go globe hands, pulse your legs, propeller pose. Creating some sort of dramatic sound and movement. And then step your foot back into that lunge position, pushing your knees forward, even turning the knees in to begin with to help rotate your thighs back. You can do a position called mood enhancer, where you grab both cheeks behind you and lift them up. There's a direct correlation with the corners of your lips going up as well. Float your hands forward, curl your fingers into fists, join the 2 fists together and twist to the left. Option, of course, to be in that state of readiness with your left heel lifted, and then find a little bit of a pulse as you twist over to the side. Then lower your heel just to help put your weight back into your right foot to spring off. Swing your right leg up and over, full wrap, or make a kickstand. And then if you are doing the kickstand, again, push your foot forward to move the hips back. Another version I like is just bringing the hands to the top of the head to emphasize a lifting up through the crown of the head as opposed to even just pushing it back, but drops the hips down and back and lift your rib cage up, eventually starting to lean back. Okay, and then unwrap your leg, lower your foot, reach your arms forward. Do the same process with your left foot. Push your foot forward, pull it back, lift it into the air, point your toes back, and then bring the top of your foot down, then your knee, then lift your front heel, and then lift your front foot. One shin balance position, holding strong, balancing only on the one shin, option to extend your leg straighter. And then step your foot forward and a little bit out to the right. With your arms forward, sweep them over to the left and bring your left hand down. Cup the back of your head with your right hand. Tilt your ear to your shoulder. Inhale, move your rib cage away from your hips. And then exhale, move the hips towards the heels. Just continue that where you inhale, get long. And then exhale, move your hips back. And do that one more time. And then bring your hands down, tuck your back toes, and step back to the crouching cat position. Here in crouching cat, having a little bit of fun with your cat. So it'll be hop forward and back about 5 times on your mat. So just a little forward and a little back. Forward, back. Forward, back, doing that a few times. So there's a saying that Bowspring are the poses between the poses in yoga. In order to go from down dog with straight legs and heels down to jumping forward, you have to bend the knees, lift the heels. So it's the poses that have the actions are Bowspring. Then lower your knees down and pause. Of course, the ramifications there is that you get tired. Here in all fours, lift your left leg back behind you. Better cover up my midriff before this becomes rated R. Left leg back, and then reach back with your right hand. Grab hold of the big toe side of your foot. Kick your foot into your hand. Twist towards the right. Okay, and then release your foot, lower your hand down, lower your knee down, and switch sides. Lift your right leg back, reach behind you with your left hand. I've been hearing rumors that Instagram is coming down hard on people with some of their posts, whether it's a little too political or a little too, we'll say, lacking of clothing. Don't want to name names of anyone practicing today. Okay, and then lower down. Tuck your toes under. Rise up, crouching cat again. In crouching cat, move your left foot a little closer to your right foot, and then lift your right leg out to the side. If you want to make it a bit more challenging, go fingertips with your right hand. It just puts more weight into the left hand. And then from here, create a bicycle action, but with only your right leg. And in order to get super power when you do bike, it's actually the toes and then the balls of the feet where the toes connect and not your heels. You don't ride a bike with your heels. Well, some may, but it's not as efficient. Notice how tired you get. Lower your right foot down, right hand down, and switch sides. Go left fingertips, lift your left leg out to the side. Reading comments. And then bicycle pedal your leg. Okay, hands probably getting tired now. Foot down, step or playfully hop towards the front of your space. Rise up, hands to your knees. Bend your knees forward. Move your hips back. Tilt forward so your torso is parallel to the floor. Then place your hands to the outside of your knees. Push your knees out into a gentle resistance in of your hands. So the hands and knees push into each other, but try to widen your upper thigh bones more as you push the legs straighter and maintain a slight arch in your low back. If you need help, you can grab your butt and lift it up. If you have someone you trust who's in the room with you, you can have them do the manual assistant. Again, just keep things appropriate. Push the legs straighter. And then now clasp your hands. So you just cross your hands and hold on to your fingers. This one's called Hercules clasp. You can put your thumbs onto the second knuckle of the ring finger for both hands and then rise up. And globe hands is when you push the hands into each other. Hercules clasp is when you pull the hands away from each other. And there aren't a lot of pull actions in yoga. It's one thing that the gym has a bit more of an advantage with. Step your right foot forward just a little bit. Have your heel lifted. Push the foot forward, move your hips back, and then drag your foot back to lift it into the air. From here, turn your body out to the side. Step your foot back. This one is called tribal lunge. It's like a shorter version of a warrior two stance. And then lift your back heel, push off your foot, and step forward. And just do that a few times where you step back and step forward. Be mindful of your left foot, the one that stays fixed so that the toes aren't moving, the foot is firm and solid. And then next time you step back, step back. Turn your back foot in just a little bit so you can lift your heel. And then from there, tilt over to the left, place your forearm to your thigh. For the right hand, you can turn it in a little bit more with the knee. Grab your right butt, lift it up. It's a version of side angle pose. Twist to the right, and then cup the back of your head with your right hand. From here, option to make things frisky, lift your front heel to hover away from the floor. And then pause and hold. Okay, then lower your heel, cup the back of your head with both hands, push off your back foot, lift it into the air, pull your knee forward, step back, we'll do that 3 times, push off, pull your knee forward, and then leg back, and then last time, pull your knee forward, pause, 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 and then option to even lift your heel, whoa, and then heel down, foot down, switch the clasp of the Hercules, lean over to your right foot, step your left foot forward a little bit, lift your heel, push your foot forward, and then drag your foot back to get the muscles of your leg engaged. Then turn out to the side, step back, and push to step forward. And then just finding some movement. So it's like a meditative movement. And eventually Bowspring can literally change how you walk and move in the world. I've had students say, I saw you from 100 yards away. It's like, how do you know it was me? And she said to me, because you walk differently than everyone else. I was like, uh-oh. Step your foot back, turn your foot in, lean over to the right forearm to your thigh, left hand holds the knee, turn the knee in a bit, pull the glutes up, lifting the back heel, twist, and then you could either cup the back of your head. Some like to stretch it long and curl the fingers in that seat position. Often I also do the hand to the top of the head as feedback to lengthen the torso forward as I drop the hips further back. And you can add a pulse where you inhale, move the hips back, and then exhale and lengthen, or vice versa. It's kind of fun to switch up the breath a little bit. Option to lift your front heel, whoa, And then extra challenge here, cup the back of your head with both hands, push off of your back foot, pull your knee forward, and then bring your leg back. Push off, pull the knee forward, then take the leg back. And one more time. Pull the knee forward, hold, and then crazy challenge, lift your heel just to hover. And then lower your left foot, float your arms forward in front of you. Hold on to opposite elbows. This is genie arms, where you can grant a wish. You can't grant the wish of more wishes though. Then lift your heels to hover, move your hips back, using your fingers to wrap around your elbows. Push the elbows into the fingers. So you're trying to actually like widen your arms, but you're blocking your progress. And then now just a gentle twist with bent knees towards the right. Keep your left hip back. The left hip is always like, hey, what's going on over there? You have to be like, hey, hips, this is for the upper body and not the lower body. And then go over to the other side. Twist to the left. Keep your right hip back. Now it's like, right hip is like, hey, I want to see what's going on this side. Keep your right hip back. Keep the heels lifted. That's hard to do. Okay, and then arms forward. Lower your left heel, lift your right foot, swing it back, bring the top of your foot down, and then your knee down. Move your hips behind you, behind, say, the right knee to lift your front heel, and then lift your front foot. And the place of readiness is the place where you have to pay attention, which doesn't always go so well too. We have a tendency generally as humans to want to check out and make things easy on ourselves. So sometimes a response to the Bowspring practice is like, well, I don't like this. I have to pay attention. I like just coming to class and checking out versus checking in. Step your foot forward and a little to the left. Arms forward, wide sweeping arc to the right. This one's called baby mantis. Bring your hand down. Hold the side of your head. Again, you could do a fist to the top of the head, like I did in that side angle variation. Move your hips back, and then lengthen your spine. And eventually it gets to a point I've seen people flip over into like wild thing variation in this position. It's a little bit out of my range. I'm a big fan of the functionality of Bowspring. I definitely shy away from some of the extreme positions that also can become available. Okay, and then push with your hand to slowly come up. Then bring your left leg back, touch your hands down, tuck your toes under, and rise up, crouching cat position. In crouching cat, lift your right foot forward and cross it in front of your left thigh, just above your knee. Then point your right foot, bring the front of the shin down, point your back toes, rise up onto fingertips. So it's kind of like a figure 4 position you do on your back, thread the needle, where you hold, in this case it'd be the right hand, except doing this upright. It's a bit of a play off of different postures. Coming upright, maybe go fingertips, option, hands above the head, or cup the back of your head. The select few can lift their foot and hold the foot behind them. I'll have a look at the video after. I think I'm pretty close. Just about there. Just about. Okay, and then go hand down, tuck your toes, push out of it. One push up, option to come forward and lower your knees down, even your feet down, to lower for one push up and lift up. Retuck your toes and switch sides this time. Left ankle in front of your right knee. Move to the front of your left shin, point your back toes, rise onto fingertips, push your knees towards each other so you get to a point where you balance. If you're trying this for the first time and you can't balance, I know what it's like. Because the first time I did, I was like, whoa, What's going on? What's happening to me? Again, it just takes time and practice, like the one shin balance position. Option to curl and lean it back. So some things, of course, are balance we can improve. When it comes to ridiculous range of motion or flexibility, like holding the foot behind you here, you just may not be able to, and that's okay. Okay, and then go hands down and step back to crouching cat and come forward. Again, you could have your knees up or down, up to you. I'm just going knees down. It's considered level 1, a little bit easier. Do the push-up and then come up. And then here in all fours, rise onto your right fingertips, open and close your right leg a few times. Just feel the effect that has on your left glute, which starts to feel stronger. Option now is to keep your leg out to the side and then extend your leg straighter. You could even support the back of your thigh to add a nice little stretch there. Okay, then bend your knee, lower your knee down, rise onto your left fingertips, open and close your left leg up and down. And then this is one where I have to actually angle myself to the side in order to extend the leg straighter. Whoa. Okay, and then bend your knee, lower your knee down. Tuck your toes, lift your knees to hover and turn both knees to the right. Bring your left hip down, rise onto your right fingertips for seated side twist. So knees go to the right and then turn your chest to the front of your mat and then switch sides. Right hand flat, pivot on your toes, turn your knees to the left so you're on your right hip. Rise onto your left fingertips, turn your chest from left to right. And then we'll start to wind things down, slide your right arm long, roll onto your back, and then from here, have your knees bent so your feet are flat, and then hold the front edge of your mat or mimic that position, like you're doing a chin-up bar but on your back, and then from there, push with your feet and lift your hips up. So yoga bridge is lifting your hips up as high as possible. Bowspring bridge is keep your chest lifted, even your belly lifted, but start to allow your hips to drop down lower and maybe even to the point where they're like ripe hanging fruit on a branch where they're just barely hovering off the floor. And 3, 2, 1, drop your hips down. For this next section, you could keep your hips on the floor. You could put the hips into the air, but even pop them onto a block like I just demonstrated there. Or just have them hovering in the air, up to you. If your hips are on the floor, just check to see that you can get one forearm under your low back. So there's a little bit of space with your low back. And then from there, lift your right foot, hold the back of your thigh and extend your leg straighter. And the shaking, if you see the shaking in me, that is not for dramatic purposes. The hamstrings connect to the sit bone, so if I'm in a position where the low back is slightly lifted, it's a way more intense stretch without even getting the leg all the way to straight. Whoa. Okay, and then lower the right foot down. Again, you could be in bridge doing this. Pull the left knee in, keep your low back lifted, hold the back of your left thigh, extend your leg straighter. And then lower your foot down. Reach both arms straight up and wide. Lift your feet to the height of your knees. Extra challenge, I know some like to do that, is to push your head down and lift your rib cage up on this one. Level 1, it's good to just keep your rib cage down, but lower your legs halfway to the right and arms halfway to the left. So it's just a reclined twist, but it's one that you don't get to drop all the way down and relax completely. There's still an element of engagement, of readiness. You could imagine someone holding under your heels and pulling your heels down into that resistance, or even having a band, like a Pilates band around your wrists, and you're pushing them away from each other. And then come back to center, and then drop your legs halfway to the left and arms go halfway to the right. You can even add a bicycle. I've seen people with bicycles with their hands too. That's really cool. Get pretty strong in your upper body if you have that. Okay, and then return to center. Hold your kneecaps with the palms of your hands, knees directly over your hips. Allow your low back to be lifted. Then push your knees up into your hands to make the back of your pelvis even heavier. And from there, slowly lengthen your legs out one by one with your feet wide and arms alongside you. Turn your palms face down. We often call the palms of the hands the front of the hands, but in a more functional setting, the fronts of the hands may be the opposite side of the palms. And gently push down with your hands, push down with your heels, the back of your head and the back of your hips. Make yourself heavy as you drop your weight. And take a big breath in and big breath out. Move your head side to side and move your fingers, your toes, your arms and your legs. Stretch and reach. Crack. And then bend your knees and roll over to either side to pause in a fetal position. And slowly make your way up to a tall seated position. And sitting on your heels. And in particular, to remember about the heels, that there's nothing wrong with putting your weight in your heels. But as you move through the day or do some sort of activity or sport, just notice, say hiking up a mountain, you'd never actually walk on your heels. So how often do you put weight in your heels, especially in an active situation? And of course, when you notice those things, that's when the biggest transformation can happen, because you can become aware of an unconscious tendency, which is far more superior than just doing a pose you haven't been able to do before. Lift your hands to globe hands. Look forward, lift your chin. Big breath in. And big breath out. Namaste.